I think it's pretty safe to say that the most mysterious character in the Star Wars sequel trilogy has got to be Supreme Leader Snoke. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, ever since the debut of the character in The Force Awakens by J.J. Abrams, it seems as though that Abrams was setting up a lot of different questions for the character, and a lot of those questions were never answered in The Last Jedi. Even Andy Serkis himself, the actor who portrays Snoke, has said before in the past that he has a whole backstory that he knows about when it comes to Snoke, as well as Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. However, they are all keeping it a big secret in case they ever wanted to tell it in a future Star Wars film and or trilogy. So these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the concept art and storyboard descriptions, etc. One of which has all to do with a younger version of Supreme Leader Snoke that could very well give us a hint as to exactly who he is and his true identity in the sequel trilogy. Specifically, a description of a younger Snoke with no injuries to his face. He wears a black cloak similar to Palpatine's. In his hand, he holds a book that has the words on the cover labeled as The Science of Creating Life. The next goes over the Snoke figure with the hood over his head, reading the book in what appears to be a conference room for politicians of the New Republic. The last goes over the younger version of Snoke, sitting in the shadows, watching Leia, giving a speech to dozens of politicians. Throughout this sequence, it's described that dialogue of Leia is audible over the visuals of a younger version of Supreme Leader Snoke, indicating that this is a flashback and or vision sequence for the movie. Now, I really wanted to go over a couple of parts about this that really do pique my interest of exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to tie everything together into the prequel trilogy. And that is, of course, one of the big plans for Episode 9. Now, I don't know about you, but this is a major indicator / hint that Supreme Leader Snoke is indeed going to be Darth Plagueis in this film. The reason as to why I do say this is, of course, if you guys are familiar with Legends material, in which Disney and Lucasfilm, they are cherry-picking tons of stuff from Star Wars Legends and incorporating it into the current canon. Now, The Science of Creating Life was a manuscript all written by Darth Plagueis. All of his different powers are described in there, as well as his experiences and his techniques and abilities and whatnot. All are stored within this manuscript, The Science of Creating Life. And what's really interesting about this is that the younger version of Supreme Leader Snoke has this book, which could very well tell us that he is indeed Darth Plagueis in the sequel trilogy. Now, we do know a couple of months ago, the Weekly Planet went over how Disney and Lucasfilm are toying around with the idea of revealing that Snoke is or was Darth Plagueis in the Star Wars franchise. And I don't know about you, but this would be the absolute best way in order to tie everything together, in order to tie Episode 9 into the prequels and even the originals, because Snoke, after all, could have very well created Anakin Skywalker right from the get-go if he is going to be Darth Plagueis. And I think that, how amazing would it be if they could attach this to the Skywalker bloodline revelation that we are going to be getting in Episode 9, by the way. I believe that that bloodline revelation has all to do with Supreme Leader Snoke being Darth Plagueis. Now, why else would he have the book, The Science of Creating Life? Well, it could also mean that maybe Snoke was once a Sith Lord before the days of The Force Awakens and before the days of the First Order. I would say even before the events of the prequels. This is very possible, that he was basically an ancient Sith Lord that eventually just became a regular dark side user, very much like Kylo Ren is in the sequel trilogy so far. So the other thing that I do want to go over is how he's actually looming in the shadows, watching Leia giving a speech in this conference room to dozens of politicians. And that's another question for sure. Is he a politician? Is he somewhat similar to that of Chancellor Palpatine, where he was basically also a Sith Lord in the hiding? The whole entire prequel trilogy, we got the concept of, politics mixed with the Star Wars movie, and I kind of enjoyed that. So this this could be a very similar scenario where maybe Leia, for example, is talking to either, let's say, Rey, or maybe even, you know, let's say Poe or Finn or somebody, right? And we get to see the visuals of Supreme Leader Snoke in his younger days. I think that this is, you know, probably the best way to do it, and this makes total sense now. And why he's holding the Science of Creating Life book means two things. He was once a Sith Lord, or was actually trying to learn a lot of abilities of Darth Plagueis. And maybe he is indeed just Darth Plagueis himself. Again, the Science of Creating Life is a book, a manuscript that was all written by Plagueis, at least in Legends material. So if Disney and Lucasfilm continue to cherry pick from Legends and put this into Episode 9, it seems as though that they are trying to explain exactly who Snoke really was. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.